Hello, everybody.
Episode 40.
Geoff and Kira live, episode 40.
We're jamming one more in before a possible second stay-at-home shutdown here in Los Angeles. How are you feeling about that, by the way?
I feel like my life has been shut down for how long now? Like 3 months, 4 months.
Do you feel the past few days, I've been feeling even more. You and I are pretty chill.
Yeah.
Right? We're able to take things just as they come and just let it kind of brush off of us. I'm starting to feel like the anxiety now of not next one day to the next. Our mayor here is now threatening next week we may go into lockdown. It's the never knowing thing is like a struggle and a half.
Yeah.
Are you feeling the same? Okay, what? Everything's just off kilter.
I feel like, it's frustrating because in some regards, people want to get back to work in that way. But we also have to be aware of public safety and the health aspect of everything. That stuff's really important, wearing a mask, doing what we're supposed to do. So it's frustrating. It's mostly frustrating, but it's also, being responsible.
So you're wearing masks. You don't feel emasculated not wearing your mask, or to wear a mask.
I don't feel one way. As far as masks, I follow whatever the guidelines that are laid down are as far as the masks.
So if the governor's
I'm not emotional about wearing or not wearing a mask. If anybody asks my opinion, it's to wear a mask because I believe there is a safety risk and a health risk if you don't.
So what do you say to the people when we're talking about, in the past we talked about Scott Adams, one movie, two screens type of thing where you've got scientists that back up the, all the experts of the mask doesn't work. It actually does, you more harm than good. And then you've got the exact same amount of experts on the other side saying, oh my God, guys, just of course a mask works. It's almost like you could say it's the same thing as global warming or anti-vaccinations, and it's the same topic. To all of the people that wear masks, it's no-brainer.
Well, first off, as far as I know, Scott Adams is for masks. He pushes wearing masks, which is smart. I'm for masks as well. I think there's a lot of kind of conspiracy. I don't want to call it conspiracy, but I know that a lot of people out there don't believe in wearing masks. I know that a lot of people don't, for whatever, they think it's like a
I think it's like a don't tread, don't tread on me kind of thing.
Well, right, and then they were, they it feels like it's violating their space and what they do with their body.
I'd be interested to hear from our viewers and listeners of their thoughts on it, because I think we're getting to that point where the mask has been a part of our world for the past few months, and it's going to continue. I don't think the mask is going away anytime soon. I just ordered 2 new masks because I'm I guess we're doing masks for the next unforeseeable future.
I just don't understand there's legitimately an emotional reaction to wearing a mask, and we wanted to get into that in today's episode. We have 2 topics: the masks and also Kanye West. But I feel like that'll be a fun discussion.
I told Geoff, I'm we should title this "Should We Mask Kanye?"
Yeah,
because at this point,
we'll discuss Kanye in a moment. But I think that on the mask thing, my opinion is you should follow whatever the guidelines are, and I just don't understand the emotion of not wanting to wear one. It's going to go away eventually. Once we're through it, you're not going to wear a mask for 50 years or anything. Hopefully.
Right.
But it's really not you go to the grocery store or you go to the park or you go to wherever. You just put a mask on and just. That's it. It's just not that hard of a thing to do. The other thing about it is, you have people going into grocery stores and fighting about it. And
it's big out here.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of video from Trader Joe's and that are becoming national videos of like, and it's surprising actually that we have so many people in California that just won't do it. And because it's such a liberal state, you would think it would be like, hey, we're all in it together type of mentality, which typically liberals, have that point of view.
Yeah.
But there's like a really big percentage of people who are like, don't tell me what to do. And you can't tell me to wear a mask and it's bad for me. And then they have like meltdowns, like tantrums as children.
So let me tell you, it's partially the freedom thing. It feels like it's violating their freedoms. That's one thing that they're feeling. And the other thing is a lot of them don't believe, they believe that it's already, passed, and that a lot of it is just, noise, from the media.
Right.
And that we're safer than what is advertised. I saw somebody tweet today about, all these comments and such being made about, hospitals and such, that the same comments were being made in 2018 when the hospitals were overwhelmed. We had like that was a bad flu season. I'm not saying that COVID is a flu season, but back then we had a bad flu season. He was saying that all these quotes from 2018 when they were overwhelmed, and he's just like, let the country open, let it be free. But that's again the freedom thing, and they're wanting to like open things up. And by the way, it's mostly Democrats now that are saying, that seems to be more of the side of, be safe, like it's serious, we need to take it serious. And the Republicans believe be safe too, but Democrats are saying we need to take this seriously, keep things closed, we need to be safe and cautious about it, while Republicans are more now towards open it up. What's interesting about this, though, is in the beginning in January, when you and I were on here, we had our masks.
It was like the 27th or something.
Yeah. It was the day Kobe died. It was I think 26th or something. And I had just ordered my mask, which was on the way.
It was like $60.
Everybody thought
for an N95.
Yeah, everybody thought I was nuts, with my mask in January. And, people were looking at it. But I looked across Twitter, in January when this was first popping up in China. And I actually was posting about it, I don't know, mid-January, about, in China, the people falling over and stuff and people dying. And people were like, telling me like, it's overhyped. Like, don't do that anymore. Yeah. But what's interesting is there's something about, I don't know, the political psychology or something, because I looked across Twitter, and in January, the people that were freaking out were mostly, or the people that were like really concerned and saying stay safe and all that was conservatives. It was Republicans. Democrats back then were not as
right.
They were not.
So when do you think it flipped?
Like Tucker Carlson was like freaking out on Fox in January about it, because there seems to be something about Republicans and the entity of something, like fearing that entity that they're seeing happen, while Democrats look more like the impact and like the impact it's having as the train goes through. So it's like the entity comes in the Republicans, and then the impact afterwards, and the Democrats are here looking at the impact and be like, no, look what it's doing. So like both sides are both kind of correct in this way, but now we're looking at like the impact and everything that's happening. And Republicans are the entity, that happened in time at a different place in time.
Right.
So now the Democrats are, because we're looking at the impact of things, and those fear radars go up. So it's like there seems to be a psychology aspect here of each, if you want to call it, parties seems to be fearing a different impact, because literally Tucker Carlson in January was like, get your masks, like wear your masks, and I remember there was like jokes and stuff being told about it.
I remember that too. Do you guys remember when there was like memes and stuff of like, oh, we have to wear a mask, and now it's like, no, you're here, you get fined if you don't wear a mask. It's very peculiar the way times change so very quickly in such a short amount of time. And it's only been a few months, and this wouldn't have we would have never even remotely thought that this would be something we'd be dealing with in 2020.
Yeah. Right.
And to me, I just find it very fascinating how things have changed from a political standpoint, where though, let's say a Republican, for example, or a conservative does not want to wear a mask, he fears freedom being taken away from him. And then you've got the Democrat or the liberal who fears that they will get the virus or that their loved ones will get the virus.
Yeah.
Though they seem to opposing arguments as they are, the core part of that is fear.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's fear. It is. I don't know if anyone's looked at the news. I'm trying to avoid it because like the front page of CNN yesterday was like big, bold font, probably a 72, and it had every article on the front page of more deaths are happening, COVID's. I mean, it was like the complete scare tactic. I saw it. I was like, oh my God, this is the most fear-based society I've ever seen. It is just like freaking out to the point where the people that did care about like, all right, let's stay safe, are like, screw it, just open. At some point you have to either open or prepare for a massive economic downturn of epic proportions that the world's never seen.
So you're saying we should have to go one way.
You can't do this in between.
Like we're caught in this state of in between.
They call it the dimmer switch out here, where, okay, we'll dimmer back, and now it's like, oh, maybe we'll go stay at home. No one can live like that emotionally, mentally, and then financially. You can't just open for like a month and say, you know what, the numbers are looking bad, we have to dial it back. But because it's, you know what, if that's the case, we're going to be doing that for years.
Yeah.
For years. No one can survive on that.
So we're caught in this in-between space right now, basically.
But truly, the ultimate piece that links both sides together of the mask or not to mask is fear.
Yeah.
So how it's this constant fear, and has the U.S., I guess my question is, has the U.S. always had a fear-based, like, okay, we need to put Japanese in encampments here because we fear that they might turn on us. We fear getting into wars. We don't get, there seems to be an underlying cause and effect of fear in the country.
Yeah.
Of like, we fear outside anything. Yeah. And we like close in on our own little continent or whatever, So it's an interesting, but I can see it even more with something that we can't control.
Yeah. With the fear not control. Yeah. I mean, I think fear manifests differently for different people. You know, I think that people
are you fearful?
Of which? Of what?
Of
people, the virus?
Yeah, of the virus, or of people not wearing the mask.
Am I fearful of people? Like, am I fearful fearful of getting it?
Or your family?
I am still a little bit. I mean, I'm still cautious.
Right.
I wouldn't say that I am overcome with fear about that. Like, I wouldn't say I'm like walking around like scared. Like, if I see somebody without a mask, I'm not one of those person who's like,
So you're not the mask police.
No, I am not the mask police.
I don't like to be the mask police either.
I am not the mask police.
And that's a big controversy out here where people are literally shaming people for not wearing a mask. And I'm just like, and then you are shamed for not shaming someone. So it's like...
Yeah. And I see, Alicia, you have a question. We'll get to it in a second. But I totally, like, I think that people... I'm not here to be the mask police. I think that people should follow whatever the government or their local authorities are saying as far as wear a mask. And if they're saying it's the best thing to be safe, then do it. It doesn't really bother me if someone says wear a mask and you go in a store. Like, that's not something that's high up on my priority list of where I'm like angry about.
No.
It's just somebody telling me to wear a mask, so I wear a mask because that's like what the government says to do. So what the government says to do, we should follow it. That's my belief. Is if they tell you to wear a mask, you should wear a mask for the public safety. But so it's not something on my list where I'm like, prioritizing that as something to get angry about.
Now, how, as it pertains to the shutdown, there's a reason why we're having to shut down again.
Why?
Because people aren't wearing their masks.
That's what they're saying.
Correct.
Is that the reason?
Yeah.
You sure?
How else is it spreading?
I mean, if that's the reason,
so then are we supposed to deputize every single one of us and actually go after people that aren't wearing masks? And that's what people are doing.
No.
So you are on the side of, you know what, we'll allow California to shut down again, and I'm not policing the people with masks.
No, I'm the side that if anybody asks me, I will tell them they should wear a mask and follow the safety.
But you're not going to actually, like, if they ask you, you're not going to go up to them and say, you're the reason why we're shutting down.
No. Not a chance in hell.
I mean, I wouldn't either. Because I'm like, hey, you do you.
It's not something I'm...
You're a grown-ass adult. If you can't make that decision of whether or not you want to abide by health officials and you want to believe in whatever you want to believe in and go against the law and get fined, then by all means do it. But there is a piece of me that's like, hey, Joe Blow that was at the protest that wasn't wearing a effing mask, great. Now all our cases are like going through the roof, and it's beyond just, our testing has increased. It's now into like, we had the single highest death yesterday. You know, the deaths are now a problem, and it's like...
Yeah, I'm waiting for them. Are they talking about the deaths yet? Because it's just been talking about cases.
Yes,
for a long time, and I was waiting for the hospitalizations and the deaths.
Yeah,
because that's the more concern than the cases. The cases are a concern, but they're not the concern. Like, there's a lot of variables that go into how cases are counted. One of which the president screams, which. He's right about that being a variable and that we are testing more, but it goes a little bit beyond just the testing.
Right. There's a ratio that they use. Like, okay, if we're doing X amount of tests and we're getting X amount of results and we're seeing X amount of positive, that means it is actually increasing.
Right.
So they are talking about the deaths specifically here in California, and they're through the roof.
Right.
So then it's at that point, as Governor Geoff, what would you do? You are seeing
I would tell everybody,
the spikes going. They said if we hit 50%, he's shutting down. We're at 40%, and each day it's increasing.
If we hit 50% of what?
Of an increase in cases now.
I don't think he should shut down over cases. He should not. He does not need to shut down over cases. Cases are a concern. He should shut down if there's hospitalizations.
So there is. Okay. So there's an increased amount of deaths now because of COVID, and an increased amount of hospitals. I believe, was it San Diego? I forgot where it is, where they're at full capacity hospital.
Okay. If there's hospitalizations, especially if there's deaths, but if there's hospitalizations, if that's going up to any certain number that's dangerous or beyond it, then he should shut down. That's my belief.
Yes, you're in favor of shutting.
If the hospitalizations and deaths, yes, I am in favor of shutting down, and it wouldn't bother me. Just like the not wearing the mask people, like I tell them to wear a mask, but I'm not like, that side of things doesn't like get me like.
But how do you get through people that are like just open their mom and pop business and they're like, oh, we can't survive this. We can't survive another shutdown. Do you tell them, I'm going to fine you if you stay open? Because there are going to be businesses that are going to be like, F you, Governor. We're staying open so we can survive. Do you fine them for staying open?
Yeah, you have to.
Do you fine people for not wearing masks? In West Hollywood, they're doing it. Beverly Hills.
Depends how bad it gets.
How do you feel right now with Beverly Hills and West Hollywood and Santa Monica fining people like up to $500?
Here's my belief on that. There's no everybody get the thing out of their head that somehow masks like cause disease. Like there's people that are actually saying, like, what's his face on my Facebook, who...
Well, it's the carbon dioxide, right?
They think that the mask causes you to get illness. That is nuts. It's already been proven that masks help in some regard, okay? We don't know necessarily how much, or there's debate about how much. But wearing a mask, I do not believe that wearing a mask harms your chances of getting a disease. Like, I don't believe you're more likely to get it by wearing a mask. And there's people that think that.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't agree with them at all.
They're freaking out over that fact.
Don't agree with them at all. Like, I really would like to see the numbers. Like, well, a lot to unpack here. Okay. This is what happens. So the first thing is, as far as wearing a mask versus not wearing a mask and what they do, your likelihood of getting it with a mask. I do not believe that wearing a mask increases your chances of getting it, okay? There's some degree that it decreases, probably helps you not get it. to a larger degree than not. So it probably does something like a moderate amount to a lot, depending on the mask, depending on a lot of different factors, okay? And it also prevents other people from getting it, okay? It's also about them. Keep in mind it's about preventing, if you have it asymptomatically, other people are less likely to get it because of the mask. So it's helping you in that regard, in some form. Like a little, I don't know how much, there's debate about how much, but I don't believe that it's causing the mask wearer more likelihood of getting it. I just don't believe it.
Okay, so you debunk.
I believe that.
You think they're completely debunked the theories on that? Because there are scientists that are, I mean, people will show you proof.
Increases your risk. Why have doctors for 100 years worn masks and stuff then? Like, why do they wear them in hospitals? Why do they wear them, you know? Are we just disproving all
Why would people continue getting vaccinations or giving vaccinations to a kid knowing all of medical advice against it?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's
the problem, though.
Okay, but hang on.
There's two truths.
So that's my belief. Yeah, 100%. So that's my belief on masks. Okay. Now, so going back to your initial question, is I believe wearing a mask is not that big of a requirement. Like, it's not asking a lot of people. So as long as like we're in it, if I as the governor's point of view, it's not asking a lot. So you might as well wear something that's potentially helpful than not, because I don't believe it's harmful. I believe that it's either mild to moderately helpful or it's somewhere on the helpful.
And if you could save a life, why wouldn't you want to save somebody's life?
That's right. So yes, they should be
fining. You think they should be fining masks?
I don't know about fine. In what space?
If they can directly correlate to the fact that people not wearing masks is resulting, and not social distancing is resulting in the numbers to increase, which it is. Mm-hmm. There's a positive correlation there. Do you find people that are not abiding by those rules? Do you make it a law?
In grocery stores, yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how these people are walking into a grocery store without a mask on. There's got to be, I mean, I'm seeing all these videos of people walking in without a mask, and then there's like a brawl. And you're like, how did you even walk? At my grocery store, there's people standing there making sure you're wearing a mask. Do you take it off the minute you get in there? And what are you doing? How are these people allowed to walk around without...
Just take the mask off when you get home. It's not that big.
It's interesting, though, to see how New York went through this versus what we're going through, here in Los Angeles. And it's like, New Yorkers were told, stay at home. Okay, great. And now wear a mask. And they were like, yes. They signed up. We're going to be sheep. We will follow whatever you tell us. And now they're like, barely any cases. For whatever reason out here, we struggle with any sort of... And the South, it's like the South and California is where we're seeing the biggest increases, and the most amount of people that are like, I don't want to follow these rules. It's like, why? Why would you not want to?
So right, correct, and I agree with that. So that's kind of my stance on that. And then let's get to Alicia's question, and then we'll move on to Kanye. So Alicia Shepard, how you doing? And then we've got Residue Junkie in here too. Hi guys. Okay. So Alicia says, the masks simply do not work if you're not covering your eyes and if you're not covering extremely tight microfibers for your mask. It's not going to stop the virus. Any decision made out of irrational fear is a bad decision, and most of the decisions being made about COVID-19 are made from irrational and uneducated beers. I don't know what beers? No, America wasn't founded on fear, and Americans have not been afraid of being usurped. We have a statue just dedicated to open immigration and a melting pot mentality. It would be ridiculous to think that America is xenophobic. And then Residue Junkie says, only cowards and morons wear masks. And Residue Junkie says that condoms don't even stop viruses. Somebody wrote on Twitter, there was a big long thread from a sex expert or sex therapist where she was comparing masks to condoms. And she said the people who don't want to wear masks don't want to wear condoms. That's kind of...
Oh, that's an interesting correlation. I wonder if there's a correlation
between that. I'll send you that tweet thread. Yeah, she was talking about that. And then Alicia says there shouldn't be a shutdown or a lockdown or a quarantine at all, but there will be a federally mandated quarantine and lockdown reinitiated in October and more stringent rules than before. Well, let's say you're wearing a loose mask or a makeshift mask and maybe a hospital-given mask with no goggles and you have trouble breathing and keeping it in your face. You're going to be touching your face more often than if you had no mask at all. Only microfiber masks help, but that's not what people are using, and then she never wears a mask. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack there. So that's okay. So you're from Alicia. Thank you for commenting and for watching. So she's on the side of more of not wearing a mask.
I think she's on the side of, look, if you're not doing a full-on hazmat head suit thing where the eyes and all of that kind of stuff are covered, the bare minimum. What wearing a mask really isn't worth to put on for the minimal amount of protection you may have is probably as if I'm understanding you correctly, Alicia. That like if everything's uncovered except the mouth, that's not nearly enough, and it's not even worth wearing a mask.
So curious what you think about that, Alicia. Do you think she has a point there? On the spot.
I think that any sort I think any sort of protection. No, is it going to be a full hazmat suit? No. But anything is better than nothing, in my eyes. And if it's a handkerchief and it's not a microfiber, I get it. People really need to be buying like the 3-ply whatever mask. But I think you need to wear it as a why not? If it even helps a microscopic amount, why not? That's where my stance is.
Okay, and she says yes, she believes if they're going to mandate wearing masks, the masks should be effective, but there are many negatives to wearing a mask. They don't cause viruses, but if you're poking your face a lot. Okay, well, that's a fair opinion, and, everybody has different views on this. And
that's what our show's always about. There's what is the truth and what's the right answer and the wrong answer. And, Jeff and I are always on
there's two different movies.
Two different movies,
Two movies on one screen. So everybody, that's their thoughts. We've said we're we tend to reside on that topic.
I just don't want to get fined. I'm going to wear the mask. I don't, I'm like, hey, if you tell me to wear a mask, I'm going to wear it.
I'm just here so I won't get fined. Marshawn Lynch, I'm just here so I won't get fined. I'm just wearing the mask so I won't get fined. If you watch the Seahawks or NFL, you'll know what I'm talking about. Marshawn Lynch. Google it, Marshawn Lynch, just here so I won't get fined. Anyway, wear a mask so you won't get fined. That's that. 2 minutes, let's talk about Kanye real quick. Let's cram it in. Kanye West says
so do we mask him?
Running for president. Kira wants to mask Kanye. My opinion is, I don't know.
I'm just worried
Kanye's interesting. I think he's interesting.
Any independent, anyone that comes in this late in the game is always out just for a publicity stunt, and he has a new album coming out. And he's bipolar and not on his meds. So it's like, someone take his phone away, please, when he's having a breakdown. Because all you're doing is causing more riff in between the political parties and then pulling votes, whether you're for Trump or for Biden. All Kanye's doing is pulling away votes on either side and causing just unnecessary stress on a political party that's already way at its max.
Yeah, no, totally. What's up, Johan? Saying hi to various guests. Let's see. Yeah, I mean that's a fair opinion, but he's allowed to do it, and
he wants to call it what? The birthday?
He's calling it the birthday party, and his slogan and his campaign slogan is apparently. Do you hear that?
No.
So his party is the birthday party, and his campaign slogan, this is brilliant, in my opinion. His campaign slogan is just, yes.
See, you can't say it with a straight face.
I think it's fantastic. Yes. That's just, brilliant. Kanye is, okay, so these things I don't get, all, about. I just tend to try to look at things from, outside. Kanye is, just like nobody else, and that he's different. And when somebody's like different and they're doing interesting things, whether you like it or not, I always find it kind of interesting. Like in regards, I don't know what's going to happen with it, but I find him to be interesting. And like somebody commented on my Facebook today that don't give him the people shouldn't give him the attention and stuff. Kanye is unbelievably good at getting attention. Like that's what he's best at.
Do you think it's an ego thing? I think it's a mental instability because we do know he is bipolar, and that we do know that he doesn't take his meds because he says that it stifles his creativity and artistic ability.
Everybody goes there.
So,
they always go to the mental disability. They say that about AOC too.
Well, that's because he is bipolar, and people that don't take their meds and they're bipolar are loose cannons. And if they have a phone and your name's Kanye West, you're going to be all over the map.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not concerned of his mental well-being and that he's out of control.
His mental well-being?
He's bipolar, Geoff.
No, I'm not concerned about that.
Have you met someone that's bipolar?
No.
It's
yes,
really,
I'm sure I have.
Really, it's not pleasant.
Yeah.
And most people that are bipolar don't take their meds. So their highs and lows are literally all over planet Earth. And you're just like sitting there like, I don't know how to contain you. And you can't force an adult to take their meds.
We'll see what happens. Maybe the Democrats will get more votes because of Kanye. Maybe he'll help win Biden the election. You just don't know.
That's the problem. You don't know. We don't know what is going to happen tomorrow.
That's why I try not to judge these things.
I'm exhausted.
Observe them. It exhausts.
It's just, isn't the world exhausting right now? There's just a lot. It's just a lot to maintain in your brain.
Yeah.
Like, it saps every of everything out of mine.
Yeah, and I get stressed. Like, if people on Twitter and stuff, especially the Q people, the QAnon people, like, I get really stressed out about stuff. Like, people are just, you have to just, have to know when to, like, go away and take some, like, time to chill out. And
I want to go into the woods and for the next 3 days and just, like,
she's going to the woods. Really?
Yeah, kind of. Don't you want to disconnect sometimes? I'm like an information overload.
Yeah.
The minute I say, oh, I think we're going to shut down, people are like, well, what's the death count? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I can't absorb this shit anymore.
I heard somebody say that one day they just turned off all news and all social media for a day, and they said it was like a completely different world.
Yeah, it's peace and tranquility.
Like the most enlightening thing ever.
You have birds chirping and butterflies moving. You're like, oh, there is a world outside of the media.
The world is still here.
It's shocking, isn't it?
Like you can walk outside and the world is still there. So keep that in mind as things go through. I think we need to wrap it up, because we need to go.
You're getting out of your chair already.
Do some.
You're like, and I'm done.
No, I mean, yes.
Goodbye, everyone.
Brother and sister, we have a lot of fun as always here. We love talking to you guys.
Thanks for joining in and chiming in. We love your opinions and perspectives. We always take the route because it's the respectful thing to do, and something Geoff and I believe in, that everyone's opinion matters.
Yes.
Even if it's something that we don't agree with.
Yes.
You still matter as a human to express your opinion. So that's always allowed here.
That's exactly right. And in wrapping up, Lee Miller says a world without news and social media is a totally different world, but it's peace and quiet. That's so true. That's so true. So thank you, Lee and Alicia. Thank you, Johan. Everybody's here. Thank you, guys. We will be back more next week with more fun talk as always.
As long as we're not shut down or quarantined.
As long as we're not shut down or quarantined, which maybe we would go remote on.
We could go remote.
By Zoom. It'll be interesting. So,
happy episode 40.
Episode 40. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Peace.